Fine.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back with another episode of Social Reality. I got my brothers here, Theus Robinson, Antoine Tucker, and today we have another guest with us. This queen named Esther. How you doing today, lady?
New lady.
I'm well. How you guys doing?
All right. This is the
We
first
good,
time we've
Pastor.
actually had a female guest with us, and hopefully this will be a long-term thing. We are quite pleased to have you here with us, and we are more than ready to hear your opinion on things.
Yeah,
And
because
if we
Esther
can get
talking.
in people's
I'm
ear,
excited.
get
Thank
at them.
you.
All
Thank
right.
you guys.
Please tell the audience where you from and
Yeah, give us a little bit
Okay,
of
so
background on you.
I am Haitian, so shout out to all my Haitians out there.
South
I was born and raised in Port-au-Prince up until I was like around age 8, and that's when I moved to the United States, where I lived in South Florida till I was about 19. So yeah, Haitian American. Yeah.
So South Passé.
Not poulet, not poulet.
Let
Get it right.
Hello.
me got this over there. I was like,
No, I can't speak none of them. Nothing. I can't speak nothing.
All right. So we got three topics we say we're going to get into, but anybody who watches our show, y'all know we always go off topic. We're always going to add some extra shit in there, and that's just how we do. It's
barbershop.
right. This is general conversation, like you said, barbershop talk. We get at it how we get at it, like it or hate it. You know what I'm saying? So the first topic we said we was going to talk about was this election, how everybody feels about it, how you think it's gonna go, how you think it should have went. And Esther, as the newbie on the show, why don't you give me your opinion first on this?
Ladies first.
Okay, so my opinion of the election was, oh my God, it was very stressful. Trying to just watch the highs and lows. It was so, it was so close. They literally were neck and neck. I heard a lot of people say that, oh my God, I'm so shocked. I'm so surprised that it was so close. But I'm like, I'm not. I mean, if you look at the history of America, if you look at what's been going on for the last 4 years, I don't understand how people could actually say that they're shocked that, half of America was still voting for this man. However, I am ecstatic though that, the people with common sense, that they voted and they spoke, and, they let Donald Trump and his likes know that, we're not doing this anymore. We're taking our country back. All that rhetoric, all the hate, everything, all the nonsense that's going on in this country, we actually want our democracy back, and we want a civilized America. So I think we got it right. We have a long way to go. It's still far from over, but we're definitely, in the right direction.
Right.
Okay. I mean, my thing is with Donald Trump in this whole thing. Of course, I knew it wasn't going to be anything smooth about it from the start. First of all, they didn't expect for Biden to turn a couple red states blue. You know what I'm saying? And he did that. Congratulations to him on that.
Yes.
With Trump, like I said, I knew he wasn't gonna make anything easy, even though he's a northerner. To me, and again, this is just my opinion, I think he still went by the good old boy system.
Yeah.
Because
wrote the book. Right. He took the page out. He was line for line. What are you talking about?
right. You
Only
know,
thing he did was come out with a white white Ku Klux Klan robe on. That's the only thing he didn't do.
right. Especially with the Proud Boys behind him, talking about stand down and stand by. You know, come on, man. It's nothing Donald Trump does surprises me.
I'll tell you.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Esther. You said something?
No, I was saying he brought up the Proud Boys. I mean, I really don't think that the Proud Boys are really about that life, because if they really were, I think they would have popped off about now. You know what I'm saying? And it was just like, oh, we doing this, we doing that. But as you've seen with everything that's going on, all they've been doing is a whole lot of crying and marching and crying some more,
Right.
and then talking crazy. But I haven't seen no hands. I haven't seen anything that really leads me to believe that they're really about that life when it really counts, you know?
I agree with you on that. I don't think they want that smoke.
They got in
kind of
last night.
kind of disagree a little bit, because like you had the Proud Boys, the Boogaloo Boys, and then however many other militia nut job groups, they got floating out there, and I think that they thought they had more backing than they do, right?
Mhm.
Because they did kill a number of people. I mean, like driving trucks through crowds.
Right.
That dude went across state lines and shot people at the protest he shouldn't even been at. Um, you got random black folks coming up just dead. You know what I'm saying? So it's like I think they are kind of about that, um, but they lack the numbers, and they thought more people were up to speed with them. So when they popped off, more would pop off, which would then kind of you know keep it moving.
Mhm.
And when it didn't, they did what punks do.
Yeah, since you say that, that makes me think they could also be waiting for the order from the right
Right.
person.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think people slipping when they think that Trump is the leader. I don't think he's the leader. I think that he was a rallying cry. Like he gave voice to what Grandpa mumbles in the corner in their circles, like in their side of the world.
True.
Uh, and so they were like, an identity trumps everything. So white identity is all the Midwest has, and that's where a lot of his support draws from, like that Midwest. We don't even deal with black folks. The only brown folks we got are Native Americans that we keep in isolation and Latinos that we keep in the field. So I think for him, it was like he was that dude who could say stuff that they've been feeling. And so then they start saying it, and then the police don't do anything, the law don't do anything, the courts don't do anything. So they say it a little bit louder, you know what I'm saying? But when Trump is gone, they'll just keep being who they are. I don't think this stops anything. I think this is what America is. Um, and not to get too far off track, but I really do appreciate that they actually put in numbers that literally 50% of the nation just don't care.
Yeah, what I got from him is a little. I'm thankful that we did get Biden off. Now, she wasn't my first choice, but I'm glad we went in the right direction.
Mm-hmm.
As far as like this whole situation, though, since Trump got in office in 2016, I've always thought that this has been a slow-moving coup of our government and our democracy. Anyway, from if you think about it, one of the most insidious things that we have as in American society is our racism. Right. It is the most. It permeates all aspects and all levels of our society, and for an outside force or an agitator to touch upon that and to incite us against each other, those that believe and those that don't believe in racism, um, I think it was a very close attempt to take over our country.
Yeah, I think if not,
Something to do with
I
it.
think it was a perfect storm. You know
Yeah,
what I'm saying? If not for racism and classism, which really is what it really is to me anyway. Like classism is more than what racism is. Racism is like the poor man's war, right? That's how they keep poor folks fighting against each other. But race will always be our issue because this country refuses to deal with it.
right. Exactly.
And the
And I
rest
think
of the world was like, well, let's kind of poke that a little bit.
exactly.
And the only thing that saved this country, because I'm a little, let's say, a little objection with like some of our words that sometimes we use. Like I don't say our democracy. It ain't mine. Until they fix it, it ain't mine. But it was like, if not for classism being such a big issue here, Trump really could have run that coup. He really could have. But it was the fact that at the same time, the economy hit the shit. And so now you had all these little white boys and girls who had been fed that same bullshit about go to school, get a job type stuff. and they like, yo, I'm 25 years old, can't get a job. You know what I'm saying? And you're over here trying to kill my friend because he's black. Okay, yeah, so now I'm gonna rise up. So if not for the classism piece, I think racism really could have helped him get a second term. I really think it could have.
I mean, you're absolutely right, but again, I think the problem with America is they refuse to like face history realistically. All this has been done before. I mean, if you look at, Germany, you look at Hitler, like the thing that Trump is doing is nothing new. So
Right.
it's like if you give, white folks a reason as to why their life is not how they wanted it, as to why they're poor, as to why they don't have a nice house. Of course, you just tell them like, hey, it's the black people's fault, it's the Hispanics' fault, it's the Muslims' fault. Even though, this person might not have passed a 5th grade education, this person might not have no actual skills. They might be just plain old dumb. But it's like, well, you may be dumb, but at least you're white, so you're better off than the Hispanics and the blacks and this and that.
Absolutely.
And so
We'll
Donald Trump, that's what he did. He gave them, this whole white power thing, and it doesn't matter who you are, but it's their fault. So these people, they've been feeling this kind of way. You know what I
Yep.
mean? So
Right.
it's like this is nothing new, and we have to come to the realization that if we don't take the lessons from what's happened in the past, we're going to continue to repeat that cycle with us, our children's generation, their children's generation, and so on and so forth, because this is not anything new. It's been done in history before.
Every
You
40
know?
years.
Yeah.
Like every 40 years, man. But yeah, I agree, because it's like there's a lot. So when I say what I'm about to say, this is not me saying that I agree with it. It's just me. I believe in understanding your opposition. You know what I'm saying? And they come from an environment where, for the vast majority of the history, just being born white and male
Mm-hmm.
meant that you could be moderate to below average and still have a good life.
Right. You
Right?
still got the advantage from the start.
Exactly. And they didn't view it through the lens of, because I'm white and male, I have these things. Because when you're in the majority, you are the ruling group, right? So what you do is normative. So to them, it was, I'm an American, so I should have these things. And they didn't leave room for the expansion of the definition of American. You know what I mean? So now you got more Americans. And they're like, hold up, man. Now I'm actually feeling this, right? I mean, my farm ain't doing like it's supposed to. I can't get the good job I'm supposed to have. My girl ain't got no teeth. You know what I'm saying? Whatever it is,
Now
they're
my
doing
girl ain't got
hard.
no teeth.
But they're mad
Got
at
the
the
gun
wrong
bear.
thing, right? They're mad at the people they say are taking their jobs, but they're not mad at the people who sent your job away.
Exactly.
I don't think they
Right.
even know who sent their job away. The one thing that was amazing about Trumpers, that's what I'm gonna call them, is that they, no matter what was said, no, they never questioned shit.
Yeah.
They didn't question
They
nothing.
just went with it. They just went with it.
Say shit like, like, let's talk about election fraud. There was no election fraud done or shown in anywhere, right?
Mhm.
They asked it, they over again, please bring forth some evidence. They couldn't bring forth shit, right? And they still out here talking about the election was rigged and stolen.
Because
How? Fucking show me how.
it doesn't have to be true. It just has to be said.
Show us all.
I mean, it
Like,
just has to be said enough times for somebody to eventually believe it.
Yeah.
exactly what it
See,
is. I'm gonna start telling them I'm 7'2". You know what I'm saying? I'm 185 pounds, bitch.
It doesn't work. It doesn't work for Black people though. That's the thing. Like it doesn't.
Right.
Like we can't just put misinformation out there and then people just gonna run with it. Especially even when we're putting out factual information out there, people, if it's coming from a brown lip, if it's coming from a black lip, it's nobody's trying to listen to that. You know what I'm saying? It has to be another skin color, and not to, people like to say, like, let's not make it about race. But it's just ironic that people say don't make it about race when everything in America is centered around race. And it's like They don't want to talk about racism because it makes them feel comfortable because they have to actually deal with everything that their ancestors did or the feelings that they have inside that they don't address.
Well,
But then it's like they try to guilt you into not speaking your truth. Or if you speak your truth, then it's like, well, let's get beyond that, guys. Well, we can't get beyond that because that's all you guys are obsessing over.
let me tell you, one time I was in Facebook, I had a Facebook friend who was questioning like this whole racism thing. Why it always be about racism? I said, let me ask you this question. I said, in America, would you want to take the place of a black man in America?
Exactly.
I said, would you want to take the place of a black
They
man?
always dodge that one though, because they'll be like, well, yeah, because they know they can't.
He said, I said, honestly, if the positions returned, would you take the place of a black man in America?
Hell no.
He said no. He's like, I wouldn't want to because my life is already hard enough. I wouldn't want to do it. So I go that. My point is exactly. You don't want to change your life because you said your life is hard enough as it is. So you want to add on the racist, systematic racism that we have in America. You would not want it. So that tells me two things about them. Two things: they know that it exists, and one, and the other thing, they know it exists, and then also that they have in a privileged position, and they're not willing to relinquish it. They don't want equality.
But here's the thing, right? If if you think about everything in the form of competition, which is what I try to keep myself focused on, if you're in first place, like you're the returning championship team, undefeated, and you were accustomed to always being like way up ahead, would you like involuntarily just decided, hey, let's take some of our winnings and invest in second, third, and fourth place to get them better equipment to train and prepare to compete with me? Right?
But
It doesn't matter that, my team is lucky to have shoes, right? Whereas your team is sponsored by Nike. Right? It doesn't matter to them. To them, this is competition, and I'm going from where I am right now, and I have to keep you from catching up. And when you come to me talking about, yeah, the reason why I'm in fifth place is because of what your great granddaddy did, they shut that off because they can. But if we actually would take the time, and I'm not putting it on us to fix white America because y'all know me better than that. But if we take the time to really work on our messaging, right? Because that's the game they play with us. And you come at it from, let me show you history and how it works together.
No, I disagree with that because the thing about it is they know, like, for too long, I think Black America has, given certain white folks a pass or have, given them the benefit of the doubt to say, first of all, look at the kind of people we're dealing with right now. They don't care about facts. They don't care. These people are not going to go into any books, even if all the information is there. They're not going to get the information because they have no desire to get that information. Even the ones that, now don't get me wrong, we do have allies, and there's some of them that they try from their understanding to help us out, and they try to educate themselves as much as they can. But for the majority of the rest of them, they don't care. The information is out there. They just don't want that information. And even if, it's somebody that looks like them that's telling them, like Dr. Fauci, for example, like, hey guys, you have to wear the mask. This is the virus. As long as their grand wizard tells them that, hey, this is this is fake. It's the Democrats, it's fake news and all this stuff. That's what they're gonna go for. And we have to stop thinking that these people, some of them are ignorant, yes. If you're talking about Billy Bob from the trailer with no teeth, yeah, Billy Bob is just happy to be racist and he's just in the cause. But it's not Billy Bob that's in these Senate seats. So it's like we can't just keep saying that, it doesn't matter what our message, we can have the perfect message, but they're not willing to receive it because it's a grab for power, period.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to understand.
Let me clarify, because and when I say work on our messaging, I'm talking on a tactical level. I'm not trying to convert nobody. You know what I'm saying? Because like the way I look at it, people keep playing white folks short. They keep thinking that oh, he didn't know, she didn't know.
Exactly.
You run the world, you know. Okay.
Right.
What I'm saying when I'm talking about like the messaging piece is really talking to us, right? We as a community, however you want to break out our community, because that's a whole nother argument or discussion, but we have to refashion our communication and our messaging so that we actually start to understand what we're up against. I don't think we really understand what we're up against. We know we have a threat, we know that it's a problem, but we don't generally or truly know where we stand and how to move. You know what I'm saying? And so long as we feed into their, I don't know, this might not be the right word, but their mythos, right? Then we'll keep, oh well, you know, Susie, she didn't understand. Or John didn't mean it like that.
Well, it's like
No.
I think that it starts the messaging though. Here's the thing with white people in white America, it doesn't have they don't need quantitative evidence to show that's a falsehood. They only need one situation to justify their thought process.
They just need an escape.
They need to see one Negro. They see one Negro that bopped somebody upside the head with his pants down, and now all of them the same way.
Yeah.
Right.
But that's
Right.
because we buy into their
Everybody's looked at
shit,
the
man.
same light.
Yeah, they're looking all the same. Like we see that quantitative evidence come from the fact that when the election happened, they told two instances that they felt it was from electoral fraud. Right.
Yeah.
One was a lady from Georgia who was an old lady
Who's not dead.
who's not dead, who signed her name as Mrs. John Dixon or whatever her name was.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, oh, that's right, he died 14 years ago. Right. And she was like, I'm not dead. Right. And then
Alive and kicking.
she was live kicking. And then the second opportunity was, I think it was somewhere in Michigan, and then that turned out to be that they were all alive. Right. And they were
Yeah,
citizens.
the guy that made up the story, yeah.
Right. So
But that goes with what I'm saying. That gets at what I'm saying, right?
So messaging doesn't really matter to them because they look for one incident, one time, QAnon, all these conspiracy theories. All they need is one interview with somebody who say they did it, and it justifies their whole ideology.
They don't need facts. They will hold to opinion.
They don't give a
They
damn.
just need a
Because
smidget.
when
They just
facts
need
are
a smidget
inconvenient,
of a
you come
rumor.
up with an opinion.
Yeah, they just need a smidget of a rumor to make something valid.
Right.
Because once you build enough upon a lie, like I said, it's gonna be believable somewhere down the line, and then somebody's gonna build on that and build on that.
But that's what I'm getting at, though. I'm sorry, I'm not explaining it or presenting myself well, and I hear myself, so I know I'm not.
I get what you're saying.
It's like we keep asking them for permission. Like it's this. It's in our language. It's in our approach. It's in all this shit. It's like, well, well, we can give them facts, but they gonna believe what they gonna believe. Yeah, fuck them. They gonna believe what they gonna believe. You know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to convert these people. I'm saying we have to get our army in check. We have to get to work on our minds, as Fred Hampton used to try to teach us. Like all the answers are in our past. Like we ain't got to go find new stuff. It's literally there. Right? Hampton was saying you got to get educated. You got to understand politics. You got to understand community psychology. So when I'm saying messaging, I'm talking to us. I ain't got time to talk to them.
Right. I think one thing is we gotta stop being so scared of what the consequences might be first, because that's one thing that holds us back. Period. From the start, we're scared of what's going to happen afterwards. But
because we know that
that's what's causing us not to be brave enough to work together and do what we know needs to be done.
Well, we know from history that when Black folks get scared, we get quiet. When white folks get scared, we get dead. You know what I'm saying? So,
but we don't know all the loopholes.
We do and we don't. Right? Like we can't play their game because we're not in their position, but we can play our game, and we should know our game because we have been a guerrilla army since we got here. You know what I'm saying? We have been fighting from day one. And then if we can break through, and I know I'm drifting off topic here, but if we can break through this constant fight of what it is to be Black, right? If we can break through that particular, just crack the shell, just crack the shell, and we can finally look at our brothers and sisters around the world and look past the economic competition, right? Because I speak a lot from being ADOS, right? And as an ADOS, we know that a lot of our competition is from our brothers and sisters coming from the islands and from the continent, having to compete with us for our jobs and the whole dynamic in there. But crack that shell and get past that shit for a minute and realize, you want to know how to fight an opposing oppressive army? We got Haitians. You want to know how you fight when you've been colonized by a group of people who have better weaponry? We got them all across the continent. Crack the shell, fight the big fight, and then we can go work out our differences later. I mean, that's just me. I don't know.
You make a valid point, though. I think within our own community, there's a lot of infighting. I remember I got into a debate with a brother that said that, I don't count because I was born in Haiti. So like, it's not the same for me as it is for, Black people of color that were born in the United States. And I'm like, okay, my country fought for their own independence from the, from the French in 1804. We were the first free nation of color. So it's weird to me how you're gonna try to tell me how my Blackness is different from the Blackness of somebody that was born and lived in America their whole lives. And then, when it comes to the KKK, do you think the KKK is, saying things like, you know what? I'm not going to kill this one because she's from Haiti, but I'm going to kill this one because this one's from Alabama. No, we're both getting strung up, on top of that tree. And it's just, you saw that with Kamala when she was running about, she's half Indian and half Jamaican. Like, what are you talking about? Like, she's a person of color. Jamaica, Black nation. India, still people of color.
We're fighting.
You got to be looked at as a Black person.
Yeah, we're fighting for, how I put it, like, it's like being at war, like America being at war with Russia, right? Like, say that's like the big fight. But in order to fight Russia, we have to send our military. But our military is too busy debating if the Army is better than the Marines and the Marines are better than the Air Force. So we never actually put together a plan to actually fight Russia, right? So like America, the patriarchy, the racism, the caste system, all of that is the big fight. But because we're all trying to assert our identities, right? We still want to lay claim to our heritage and all that, which is, I don't find anything wrong with that. But we're fighting each other instead of saying, yo, I'm the Marines and you're the Navy. So what's your approach? What's mine? And let's do this. Like the privates are fighting the damn sergeants. Man, how you gonna go fight somebody? What you gonna do?
I wanted to touch on also, Esther, when you talked about how the Haitians fought back. People also need to look at how Ethiopia fought back from being colonized.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They were smart enough to do what it took for them to not get invaded by colonizers. So I mean, the Haitians and the Ethiopians, those are two very strong groups of people, and they didn't come back at them like that. You know what I'm saying? I mean, correct me if I'm wrong.
I gotta push a little bit, and like, only because, like, the fellas, y'all know, Esther, you've probably seen some of it about me. I'm so in love with the Black community of the American descendants of chattel slavery, right? Because that's my blood. I can actually track my bloodline right on back to the chains, right? Most of our folks still in Alabama where they got off the plantation. But all of that is valuable, is I guess is where I would put it. Like the Haitian community, they were also slaves mixed with indigenous peoples, and they were forcibly enslaved, and they had some of the worst slavery. Like, we were bred into slavery and it was horrible in America, but the islanders slavery, yo, that was bananas.
That was on a different level,
right? But
especially in Jamaica.
But the thing is, here's one of the things that's different. They were the majority. So, and they had a natural barrier, which is an island. And they had great leadership who stood up and they made the hard calls, and the people rallied and they fought. And Haiti fought everybody. Like, they didn't just fight the French, they fought everybody, right?
Right.
So we can learn from that. The Ethiopians, they had the benefit of looking at the other nations around them and deciding how they were going to react. If they had been approached first, they would have failed too. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, it's no shame in being the one who was colonized, but
Right.
learn from everybody else's story. The American story, the American Black, story, whatever you want to call it, we also have that history of fighting, but our fight is we were the minority. So we're fighting behind enemy lines, right? So that's a different tactic that has to go on. That's poisoning masters' food. That's creating systems to be able to get from Georgia to freaking Mexico. That's, you know what I'm saying? We have all the talents in the methods. We just got to get over our damn egos and be like, yo, what do we really want?
Yeah.
Right. I agree with that.
And we lost you, Antoine.
Oh, you got me?
Yeah, we lost your
Now we
visual.
hear
We
your
got your
voice.
audio.
Hold up. Oh, what's going on here? Let me get it back.
And I'm sorry, sometimes I'll start running off with the mouth. So,
You're making valid points though, but I just had to, let y'all know about my country and how we helped y'all out a little bit.
Oh, for sure.
A
Just
great
like
deal.
when people come down on Cuba, I'm like, do you understand? Like, look past. I mean, and I don't know. I guess because I'm so enthralled with Malcolm's and the Stokely Carmichaels of the past. They're like, yo, we've been having Black folks from around the world come help us forever. You know what I'm saying? And because you're going up against the American machine that has very strong alliances with the rest of the Western countries that also enslaved the world, that's not an easy fight to go up against. But we have people like Haiti, who, and please correct me where I'm wrong here, Esther, because my knowledge here is thinner. But with Haiti, when the American powers kept getting repelled, when America and France and I think England came too, but all of them came at Haiti, right, in various ways, and they kept getting their asses kicked and kept having to leave. So then they switched it to like this political, economic war, to where Haiti is being suffered. They have embargoes and all that other crap to keep them poor. Push the money over to the other side of the DR, and they'll fight you that way.
Well, you get. This is a thing though, like that people have to understand. Yes, you could be a revolutionary, and you could go and fight like Haiti did and gain their independence. But also, there's always going to be a consequence that you have to pay for actually, defeating your oppressor. And Haiti, I mean, since that time, Haiti is still paying for that now. When we kicked France ass, we still had to pay them reparations for fighting
the last 20 years.
Yes, we had to pay them reparations to fix their country. Okay. So, and then on top of that, after they came into Haiti and they took all our natural resources and pillaged everything that they can, one of the things that really upsets me when people, even like I remember prior to the Fugees coming out, I'm showing my age now, but prior to the Fugees coming out, and I was raised in South Florida. So South Florida, the Haitians have South Florida on lock. Miami, that's where we at. Right. So before that though, they were saying things like, oh, the Haitians had AIDS. I remember when they were saying that all of us came through rafts or boats. Mm-hmm. Where I used to, at first, before I had to fight, I used to, hear I'm an African booty scratcher. It was a time where young Haitian Americans, they were out here saying they were Jamaicans, they were Bahamian, they were everything but Haitian, because they put so many negative stereotypes about Haitian people that people to this day still believe that AIDS came from Africa and Haiti, which is like absurd to me. Completely. So when the Fugees came out and Wyclef Jean was out here speaking Creole, you know, promoting Haitian love and, you know, Haitian culture, now all of a sudden it became cool to be Haitian and everybody wanted to be Haitian. But then when you looked at the earthquake, when America, you know, all the CNN, MSNBC, all these news outlets, when they would talk about, you know, Haiti, they love to say, oh, Haiti's the third poorest country, you know, Haiti's so poor, Haiti's this, Haiti's that. When you look, when they're showing you Haiti, they will never show you the beautiful part of Haiti like Labadie or like Jacmel. They show you like parts of Port-au-Prince that's ravished, that's, you know, impoverished, and that just looks, you know, horrendous to tell you like, oh yeah, look at Haiti, like, you know, they're so poor, not telling you that, you know, some of the greatest doctors, greatest engineers, greatest scientists have come from Haiti. They studied in Cuba. Cuba has one of the top education systems, stronger than the United States, as well as Haiti. But they'll never tell you that because they take pride in telling you how poor we are, how, you know, I remember one time, this one African guy, I was out in the club and he tried to talk to me. He was all aggressive. And I was like, no, I'll pass. And then this dude had the audacity to tell me, he was like, oh, that's why your people in Haiti eating mud pies. And not to promote infighting among brothers and sisters, but I had to remind him, I'm like, sir, late at night, I see the infomercial where I could feed your whole village for like 10 cents a day. Stop trying to come for Haiti. You know what I'm saying? Because you're not too far removed from eating mud pie, sir. Humble yourself.
But it's
Right.
all to help protect that Eurocentric identity. It all goes
You know,
back.
America got to be number one, so they got to say how
Yeah.
worse off everybody else is than
Just
them.
look at how America treats black folks here, man. Like they don't like us, they don't want us, they resent the hell out of us. I mean, it's in the laws, it's in the
But it's crazy
judgment.
how you feel that way because look at everything that makes them money. It's black
Yeah,
basketball, sports,
Right.
music,
but they resent us.
We
fashion.
made it what it is.
Yeah, but see, they resent us though. I mean, they used to keep us as pets. You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
like, whereas they have been fighting for power and position, we had to first fight for humanity. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Because we weren't seen as humans for the longest
yeah,
time.
that's some messed up stuff. So when
We
you
were
look at
animals
them,
and objects.
yeah, so they're basically having to compete with someone that they didn't ever view as competition, and they resent the hell out of us for it. You know what I'm saying?
You
But
know,
my thing is, let them resent us and just be like, you know what? I see you for what you are. I'm gonna let you identify yourself to me because, like, I'm not one who paints everybody in a broad brush. You know, there's some good white folks, there's some bad black folks, all that shit. Yeah, yeah. Let's get that little soundbite out the way. But on the larger sense, I know what's up against me. So we just have to get to the point where we be like, you know what? Instead of having to worry about offending the 20% of the good white people, acknowledge you got 60% who could give a rat's ass if you live or die. I don't know. But
we're still talking about post election stuff. So for me,
oh yeah, I forgot.
the most got top like a motherfucker.
We do it all the
Like
time.
for me, though, like I'm thinking about the post election stuff. Like I think you talk about the state of the country, like when you watch the exit poll numbers and stuff like that. The fact that I'm intrigued about maybe Hester, you can tell me about this from a woman's perspective. The increase of white women who voted for Trump was like one of the only significant increases that there was. Now I know there was some 1% more black men that voted for Trump. I know like another 1% or whatever black women voted for Trump, but 98% of black women still voted for Trump for Biden, right?
It went from
And
like 53% to 57%. Like
yeah,
it's the one demographic he grew.
yeah. So that went up. It went up.
Mhm.
That was the highest increase though, right? Because even white men voted more for Biden this time than they did last time they voted for Trump. So that was
Mhm.
a significant change, that shift that happened. So I'm like, what is it that white women are finding that they want to support Trump? And I have no, like, I've had conversations with white women that, that were Trump supporters, and I still cannot figure that shit out for nothing.
I
You know
haven't
what?
read
It's
it.
funny. I was looking at this reporter. He was just like interviewing Trump supporters. It was made basically like uh, um, a comedy spoof of regular reporting, but he was talking to real Trump supporters. And one lady said, she said, I don't like what Trump is necessarily doing. I don't like how misogynistic he is, but I'd still rather vote for him than Biden and Harris. And I was like, well, damn, you would rather put up with somebody that you don't like instead of voting for somebody who added some color.
Or vote against their own like their own best interest.
I don't
Like,
think they do.
Right.
Well,
I don't think that's what they're doing.
what do you think they're doing?
Yeah, the majority of white women though tend to vote the same way that their husbands have voted. Like,
Yeah,
so if their
true.
husband vote for Trump, even though it's like before the, big feminist movement started, yes, their husband treat them like shit, comes home, beat their ass, beat the dog's ass, you know what I'm saying, kick the furniture or whatever. But at the end of the day, they're like, well, that's my husband. So even though he may mistreat me or whatever, I'm still rolling with my husband. And they still have that mentality. And then too, you add to the equation that now, you bring in their eyes, a Black woman. So, white women have always have this uneasiness about Black women because for some reason, like I don't know, some of them feel really inferior or intimidated by Black women, or they think that we're too pushy or we're too aggressive, we're too boisterous, whatever you want to call it. So I think they're looking at it like, oh, well, Biden is old because, Trump has put out there that, Biden has dementia, the whole Sleepy Joe thing. So in their minds, one of the conspiracy theories that they were throwing out there was that Biden was going to die and Kamala was going to become the president. And more than anything, their biggest fear is not only is it a Black person that you're going to put in this kind of, position, but a Black woman at that, because America has always had a problem with women, whether you're Black or white, much less a Black woman,
So what I was going to say is, like when you're saying about their own interests, I think one of the big things is we got to not listen to what they're saying and actually pay attention to what they're communicating, right? So what really is their best interest? So what has established this country the way that it is, as far as where 98% of your CEOs are white, whereas almost the entire teaching profession is female, and whereas the head of most of the teaching profession is either white men or white women, whereas you look at Congress and it's like almost all white men. And so if you look at it from the standpoint of what will protect my lifestyle and my safety, right? I can have more rights, right? But if that means I have less financial security, did I win anything? Like, I'm talking about from their standpoint. Because if they have a daughter, who are the daughters going to marry? White men. If they have a son, what power is he going to inherit? The power of the white man. So, yeah, they want women's lib, but they want white women's lib, right?
Yeah.
They want equal pay, but they want white women's equal pay. You know what I'm saying? So it's still, they are 100% okay being in second place, so long as the one who's in first place is their mate.
Exactly.
You see what I'm saying? So when they vote for Trump, yeah, Trump says horrible things. He says misogynistic things. He's terrible with children. I mean, this dude got 3 wives, and each wife was because he cheated on the one before. He's got kids with like all of the different wives. If he was Black, he would be all the stereotypes, right? So
every last one of them.
So for them, it's not about this, and I keep coming back to it. We got to start speaking the same language, right? They are speaking in French and we're listening to it in Spanish and then wondering why no one's talking in English, right? Their behavior is very consistent, very consistent. They don't care if you're Black, Latino, or anything else. If you are not white, then you are now on the other team. And
You're an enemy.
you're I mean, I would even say for many of them, you're not even an enemy. Like an enemy, I gotta dislike you, right? Like I think one of the best things I heard someone say was Van Jones way back when Obama was in office. And they were having a conversation about Reagan. And a lot of people say Reagan was racist. Personally, I think he was, because I remember what his role was with the Black Panthers. But Van Jones made a good point. He said, I knew Reagan. I interacted with Reagan. Reagan wasn't a racist. Reagan was something worse, right? Reagan didn't hate Black people. Reagan didn't give a damn about you. You see what I'm saying? So
Right.
the worst thing is not being hated. The worst thing is not giving a damn.
Yeah, apathetic. If you're apathetic, it's worse than hating somebody.
That's true. That's what he said.
Yeah, because apathy will let you put children in an internment camp on the border and forcibly make them orphans because yes, you feel for children, but they're not your children. So you can then you can kind of peel it back a little bit and say this is bad, but their parents are really the reasons why they're in that situation, right?
That's exactly what they said.
That's what they say. But then they'll look at us getting killed in the streets, and because to them it's not their story, it's not their lived reality. They literally look at each time a brother or sister gets killed, they look at it as an individual occurrence.
Right, exactly.
So they're like, why are y'all mad? You're mad because one person died. We got white people who die every day.
Right. Because like when the Breonna Taylor situation, this Republican white lady that was she was a nice lady in all other respect, but I just didn't agree with this part of her. She said, she goes, when the Breonna Taylor, she goes, I know that racism happens. She goes, I know that police treat Black people different. I know that. But with Breonna Taylor, why didn't they just open the door? Why didn't they just let him in? I said, man, with all respect, that is not what happened. It was a no-knock.
Sleep, right?
And they don't get
in bed sleep.
They never identified themselves.
They don't get all of that. They don't get all that information.
And that's my problem too. Not to cut you off, is that even with the situation being what it is, they will still say stuff like, well, I mean, if somebody just bursts into your house for no apparent reason, like I have a firearm.
At 3 in the morning.
Burst into my house in the middle of the night as a single Black woman with a child. I'm drawing on you. I'm spraying you because I don't know what's going on. So, but they'll tell you, well, why did you have a gun? Why did you shoot first? Because it's my house and I have the right to defend my domain against.
We got to get to the point where we put it back on them. Right. Because who has more guns than anybody else?
That's what I said. Don't you think that
white people got more guns than any of us? Right. So why you got a gun?
I put it back on her. I said, well, don't you think that if the situation was in your situation, someone was knocking on your door violently at 3 in the morning, you were in bed with your husband, don't you expect your husband to get up and grab a gun and defend you guys in that house at that time?
A woman is going to look for him as the protector, and he did just that to the best of his ability.
When nobody's identified themselves as being police at your door.
Exactly.
Y'all are looking at it from a logical standpoint, which I 100% agree with. But they don't have to inhabit that reality. They can then say, all that you just said makes perfect sense, but these were police. So the police wouldn't even be at your door if you didn't do something. You're like, wait, they were at the wrong house.
Right, exactly.
They don't care. It's like you said, it's logic, but like they have always been an illogical bunch, because even when you look towards like the civil rights movement, and don't get me wrong, like let's look at the progressives or the liberal whites, right? So in the civil rights movement, it took Bloody Sunday around the world, the whole world watching the Black people, children, elderly people men, women. It took the world watching them get mauled by dogs. It took the world watching them get hosed, beaten, to a bloody pulp for them to finally say, the white people like, man, oh my God, well, this has gone too far.
There is a problem.
Kind of savage. And then you flip that back to George Floyd. It took the world to watch as a cop sat on somebody's airway for damn near 9 minutes while this person begged for their lives, while this person called on their mother, a big black guy, okay? Called on his mother while you sat callously and casually on this man's, windpipe and snuffed the life out of him on national TV for people to finally say, you know what? I know y'all done killed like 3,000 black people in this country, but goddamn it, this is where we draw the line right here. This is just, it's egregious, and we have to do something about it. So it has always been for black folks where things got to happen to us at an extreme for America to finally say, you know what, enough is enough. And I think that these people might actually have a point when they're saying that, they're not seen as human and we don't acknowledge their humanity.
But it goes back to I don't want to appeal to the decency of them anymore, because that's exactly what we have to do. Like our bodies have to be broken, beaten in the street for it to appeal to the decent people who have sat on the sideline, silent while this happens. Well, because we know that even though all the empirical evidence we showed with George Floyd being snuffed out, being died in the middle, they still had excuses why he was not.
It was COVID-19 that killed him, and also
he wasn't a good person. He shouldn't have been this. He shouldn't have been that.
They even had like a porn video, like some kind of porno.
Yeah.
But they always do that.
The first one I heard talk about that was on Candace Owens. I can't stand Candace Owens. First of all,
I'm not gonna get sidetracked on
Candace. It's a coon. Never trust a woman whose hair is always jacked up. They can't be trusted. That's how I knew that she was. I don't even claim her. She's a whole coon. I don't claim sis.
So all right.
But Twan, going back to your friend Twan, when she said, why didn't they just open the door? Well, we as human beings, some of us are selective. We have selective hearing and we have selective sight as far as the way we want to believe it. You know what I'm saying? So it's like she didn't get all the facts. She heard what she wanted to hear, which, I mean, and again, my opinion, she heard what she wanted to hear. Why she said that? Why didn't they just open up the door? Shit.
Well,
let me bang on your door at 3-something in the morning.
But you know what though? It also depends a lot. You have to understand that it depends on a lot how what media she's listening to too, because she's a Fox News listener. They are not giving her the truth.
They always.
Let me.
If you're at MSNBC,
but her hands ain't broken. She knows. She knows the other news channels to go to.
We're doing it again, right? We're doing it again.
Well, I'm just saying that it depends on their news sources how they get their information.
But here's the thing. But Antoine, but like what you were just saying and what Esther was saying, it goes right back to what we were talking about before.
Personal responsibility.
What people really want, and this part is irrelevant of race, it just plays more into theirs. If you see something that troubles your spirit or what your conceived notion of reality is, you want to look away. Like you are desperate to look away. So when they do all these little dumbass deflections, all that is them looking for a way to look away. You know what I'm saying? George Floyd, I watched this man get murdered on TV. For me, I don't even watch these things anymore, right? Because I'm tired of you showing black life being killed on TV like it's a damn snuff film, but you ain't killing nobody else like that. We ain't the only ones dying, okay? They killing white folks, they definitely killing Latinos, okay? But what is it about the black life that you can put it on replay and let us watch one of our own die like it's a public hanging from the 1940s? You see what I'm saying? So this whole thing is so insidious, man. It's like, I think I've walked through this with y'all before, but it's like when Trayvon got murdered, we got angry, right?
Yeah.
But we wanted to look away because we hadn't really seen that since Rodney King, right? So we wanted to look away. And then I want to say it was Tamir and
Mike Brown.
and is that the one who was killed in the Walmart?
Yeah, no, that was the guy. The guy, you talking about the one with that had the shotgun in the Walmart? That
Yeah, he had an air rifle, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Then that happened, right? So we got angry some more. And all this time, they're looking at its individual situations. But we all know this because in almost every last one of our lives, if it's not in our family, it's in our friends' family, that these things have happened and it's been passed on for generations. So we are continuing to build up. Like you got people like me who have always been kind of a revolutionary mind, not always, correct that. It wasn't until I was in my 30s. That you have, because before that I was as integrated and assimilated as you could probably get.
Yeah.
But then by the time we got to the brother Alton Sterling, who got shot in his chest by those cops, and Philando Castile, who got shot by that cop in his car, when that happened, something truly like broke inside of me, because all the way through all the rest of them, if you remember, I would say, it's not what's said, it's what's communicated. It's not what's said, it's what's communicated. Yes, they're killing us and they're watch people die, but the message that they really wanted to push was black man, black woman, I don't care where you are not safe and nobody's coming to help you. So get back in your place, right? They were all warning shots by killing us individually like that. But then as it kept going, now you got brothers like me who have never been against guns, but ain't really deal with them. Fuck with me now. You know what I'm saying? So it's like,
right.
I always got nervous when the police would interact with me, but me personally have only had maybe one bad police interaction. Almost, I would say every other interaction I've ever had was very pleasant, very cordial, no big deal, except for, no, I've had 3, but they weren't to that end,
That's the
right?
only police interaction you ever had?
I've had a number of interactions, but what I'm saying is there's only like maybe 3 that stand out to me. Like there was a time I'm sitting on my porch in Valdosta, minding my business, and I think it was either 3 or 4 cops in that, that black gear they like to wear, come walking up to me and my boy on my porch, asking us questions about what we doing and where we at. You can see my college from where my front porch was. You know what I'm saying? So that was like, but it still didn't really rise to anything. Then I had a time when the police came to my door when I lived in Roswell, and they came to my door, and I'm working out, shirt off, sweaty and everything, and they come to the door talking about, hey, we got a call that somebody was in trouble with this address. And me being, me, I grew up in a white world, and this was before it really, clicked. I was in my 20s, and they were like, "Can we come inside?" And I was like, "Yeah, go ahead. I would never do that shit now." You know what I'm saying?
Right.
They'll turn it, and the crazy thing about that is, you'll have white people say, "Well, if you just comply or if you just, cooperate." But if I'm sitting on my front porch, I don't have to cooperate about shit. You don't get to come to my property and ask me, what am I doing? Where am I going? What's going on? I'm minding my fucking business. That's what you should be doing as well. You see what I'm saying?
The culture and the reality is, and I said this to my nephew, and I've said this to other kids, you have all the same rights, but you don't have all the same privileges. So yes, you can come to my house and I can be like, hey, you got a warrant? And they'd be like, oh, right. A warrant? Turn around, sir. You know what I'm saying? It's like, there's
but you can still get an attorney. This is a thing though.
No, I can.
I think that's a dangerous thing, because a lot of people of color get hemmed up because they're trying to do the right thing. But you have to understand, in a corrupt police system, right, where the good old boys, because let's be honest here, there are a lot of good cops out there. I'm not going to say that there aren't. I know good cops in my family as well. However, though, the majority of the police system is corrupt as hell, and it's designed with one purpose in mind, and it's to make them money off of the prison industrial complex. So with that being said, white people, they know their rights. And yeah, I'm not saying that if you know your right and you actually stick to your guns and not overreact, but let them know that no, you're not. If you don't have a warrant, there's no reason why you should be searching my vehicle or searching my house, especially if you don't have any kind of justification as to me doing something wrong. So I'm not going to give you the chance to be like, oh, okay, well, I know that I'm innocent and I didn't do nothing wrong. So go ahead and search my vehicle so I could drop, you know what I'm saying, some kind of drug into your car. Because now it becomes a situation where it's their word against mine. And who the hell is going to believe me over them?
No, I agree. I'm 100% with you. I'm 100% with you. And then in my particular position, you know, 41-year-old, about to be 42-year-old male, you know, I've crossed over the quote unquote danger zone, right? That 35 and under range.
You a big black man. You never crossed the
I didn't say I'm out. I didn't say I'm out.
Don't even believe that.
But the point is, I'm not their preferred meal, right? They want at this point, they want my children. And so but the point I was heading towards is, I know that the odds are still better in my favor to just, hey, these are my rights. This is my lawyer. If you're arresting me, you're arrest me, and we'll deal with this on the back end, right? But a young person is a young person, and they don't know that. And the machine is out to get you no matter who, because they make money no matter who you are. They don't give a fuck. They make money, young, old, shit, fuck it. I just got a body, and I can make money off of it. But I heard one of the realest things from like this white attorney, and it was like, always remember what the role is. A police officer's role is to get an arrest. It's not about getting a conviction. Right. It's not about solving a crime. It's not about any of that. Detectives solve crimes. Right? Detectives solve crimes. They go after the fact and try to figure shit out. Police get arrests. So you will never be able to out dialogue a cop. Just, for what? Don't even waste your time. These are my rights. I'm under arrest. Take the arrest, get an attorney, let them do their shit, right? I think that's kind of what you were hitting at too, right? But at the same time, when you're in that moment, even then we got to tap dance about how we interact. You know what I'm saying? It's like, because if you get the bad cop, she can go bad and ain't nothing you can do about it.
Yeah, that's true.
Nothing you can do about it. Mm-hmm. And that's why I still freak out at my age if a cop is 2 cars back. You know what I'm saying?
Right. You're right. I do the same thing. My heart beat a little bit too when cops get behind me in traffic. You know,
especially like, you know, like security cars that they kind of like the police, and then they'll come behind you and take you a minute to figure out that's not the cop. But in the meantime, you know, you done been triggered, your PTSD is kicking in, and you're like, damn, you play too much. You know, kind of find out it's just a security guard.
Exactly. And you got a point there that war veterans aren't the only ones that get PTSD.
Yeah.
You know, people living in everyday society, plenty of black people got it just from growing up alone. Me and Twan, we had an experience in high school. You remember when we was like 6 of us in Quade's car, and Eric Dickinson was with us.
Yeah.
I bullshit y'all not. We got pulled over. We were in high school. It was 9 police cars around us, 2 paddy wagons, and 4 fire engines. I counted them.
Yeah.
So they pulled us all out the car. And our friend Eric was about
6'3".
Eric is about maybe,
Eric's about 6'3". He was 6'3".
Yeah, he's about 6'3". So I heard the cop say to him, he said, "How tall are you?" He was like 6'3". He said, "Man, I know you got it good on the basketball court." And I knew he was getting that, but I wasn't hearing that. All I heard was the racist shit that this cop said, you know. And I was like, oh my God, all we want to do is just leave and go home.
Yeah. But see, that's just it. That's all. That is part of being, remember earlier I was saying behind enemy lines, right? That's all part of that whole thing, right? We operate behind enemy lines, so we operate in different rule sets, right? We have to teach our children. We are now all of a sudden on the news, they want to talk about the talk, right? I didn't even know it had a damn name until the media decided to give it one. Shit, this is just what you tell your kids. You know what I'm saying? Like my kids, I'm raising 3 girls. My two youngest ones are under the age of, they're not even teenagers, but they've all been, I've drilled them all. You do not engage in a conversation with police officers. You do not volunteer any information to a police officer. The only thing you give them is your name and my phone number. That's what you give them. Right?
Period.
But
Period.
other cultures, other than maybe the Latino culture, because they, I'm not here to, speak as them or for them, but if there's anybody who's rocking kind of similar to us, it's their young people, right? Because like with us, they take us off the street and lock us up because they know that our political voice is not strong enough and our economic voice is not strong enough. So for every one that blows up and gets media attention, they got 200 of us. You know what I'm saying? And with Latino men, it's a very similar dynamic, except for they play an even, in a way, sicker game, and they'll just make them disappear. Like they put them in the same prison that they put us in. But even if they're a citizen, they'll say they aren't. Because who's gonna believe you? Right? You got an accent and you speak Spanish.
You gotta have that card on you.
Right? So now they can literally have you in the prison right next to me. And they're pimping me in prison, making money off of me from the state, from the federal, from private industry, because convict leasing just switched into the current prison system. They'll do the same thing with them, but they won't even keep them on the books. So where I'm going with that is we, in a way, well, basically we need to decide how we're going to fight this fight tactically and strategically, right? We find places we have common cause with other groups, work with them in those specific areas, right? Because I'm done with this open, what is it? What you used a word earlier? Allies, right? Screw that. I don't really see allies. I mean, that's just me. Me and Antoine have had this conversation.
But we do have, we can't do it alone.
Hear me out. When I say I don't see allies, it's just that term, right? There are people who will work with you. There are people who share your interests and concerns, even if they don't share your culture, right? These are real people. If they weren't, then the world would be even more screwed up than what it is. But what I'm saying is we need to start having more strategic partnerships where if I do this, you do that, right? You want me to help you with immigration reform? Bet I'm with you on that, but I need you to help me on prison reform. You see what I'm saying? Like these are our push and pulls. Right now, everybody's out for self and then looking at everybody else when they don't show up. And I don't see how we're going to make ground that way. I don't see it.
I agree, and it's now it's more important than ever considering everything that's going on, and we definitely need a better strategy, which I think that now we're starting to kind of understand. Like you have to know, your enemy's tactics. You have to, know your enemy like the back of your head so that you know how to plan strategically. And you make moves in silent because that's what the Republican Party has, that's what they have been doing for quite a while. Like during the whole 8-year, yeah, but especially during the whole 8-year tenure of Obama, when we thought that everything was, I don't know if you guys remember the rise of the Tea Party movement. Once Trump came into power, you didn't hear anything about the Tea Party anymore.
No, because they switched into
within that time frame, that's what they were doing. They were building Trump with the whole birther movement thing, and then all of a sudden, this man is like, "Oh yeah, I'm running for president. I'm running for the presidency." And everybody's like, "Oh, it's Donald Trump. He's a clown. He's goofy. Like they're not taking him seriously." But then, guess what? Boom, he's our president. Well, he's not my president, but he's y'all president. You know what I'm saying? Let me rephrase that. But yeah, so now with the whole runoff, for the Senate seat, we definitely have to be more intentional about what we're going to do going forward and to make sure that we get a piece of that power. And, we can't always play nice and we can't always be on the whole moral high road, because hell no, it's win or lose. You either win or you lose. And if you lose, you're a loser. If you win, you're a winner. So you have to start being more aggressive. And I think that that's what the Democratic Party needs to do, be more aggressive and stop trying to act like, oh, we're the morality police. Don't nobody care about that. It's win or lose.
And here's the funny thing, what you were just saying. All right, so when Obama won, right, before he even took office, remember the Republicans dug in their heels, and their true leader, Mitch McConnell, said, I'm gonna do everything I can to stop this man. It all stops here, right? And for the entire 8 years of that presidency, the Republicans were working very hard. They took over state legislatures. They took over news media. Public media now belongs to whatever it is that it starts with an S. But like they own like all the public media now. They're like Fox Light, you know. They worked very hard for those 8 years to ensure another Obama didn't happen. And then when Obama's time was up and they were unsuccessful in getting rid of him, but they were very successful in making him more of a non-factor, then Trump came in. They've been working those 4 years too, because look how smooth they really were doing the voting opposition this go around too. And this time it didn't even feel as racial as it did in the past. And the only reason it turned out different was because more young people and minorities got off their ass and went and voted, and it overwhelmed their tricks, right? Yeah. But now Biden is coming in, and McConnell is saying very similar to what he said before, because McConnell is seeing Biden as Obama's boy, right? So the same game goes into play. We're not going to let you have any Supreme Court justices. We're going to try to keep you from having a cabinet. We're going to try to keep you from even being able to take over in your office. And then when you take over office, we're going to do our best to make sure we don't agree with anything you do, right? And here we are back in brinksmanship saying we need all of our hopes lie on these 2 seats in Georgia. Ruby red ass Georgia, right? Everybody's talking about Georgia turned blue. Georgia did not turn blue. I will stand on that. I will keep saying it. What happened was Georgia had enough people in the Republican Party who didn't like Trump.
Yeah.
So they didn't vote for him, and they voted right down a ticket for everybody else. So when this runoff pops up, it's going to be the same machine we've always seen unless we get out there. But where I was heading with all of that is we literally have 3 years. That's all we have. We have 3 years to go from planning to execution so that we are ready for the fight that's going to come in 3.5 years, because the Republicans will build a better soldier to come up against Biden's reelection. Guaranteed.
Yeah, I think that the only way we're going to survive this is we have to go through executive orders. We're not going to do this through Congress. We're going to have executive orders to make things pop, and whether that be on a administrative situation or a systematic situation, but we're not going to like reparations not going to come up. We're going to wait for Senator to put
of course not. But I mean, who really thought that we're really going to get reparations?
Lazy people.
I think
people didn't pay any damn attention. That one right there pisses me off, because reparations wasn't even part of the damn discussion 6 years ago. 6 years ago, if you brought up reparations, they laughed at people like me. When I said that we need reparations, they'd be like, shut up, that ain't gonna happen, blah, blah, blah.
It's not, right? Though. It's not going to happen.
Hear me out, Esther, hear me out though. 6 years ago, you couldn't even bring up the word, okay? Now, we actually are able to debate it. Now, I don't like this piecemeal ass progress shit, but it's like, it's not that it can't happen. It's just that we have to be realistic on how the fuck we get it. You know what I'm saying? We got these lazy ass people who think that we're going to get reparations in 6 weeks. What the fuck? You're not going to get that.
Yeah, but honestly, I hear what you're saying, but I promise you we're never going to get reparations. Like, yes, now they're more open to discussing it, but it's just a lot more bullshit, like the bullshit that they've been selling us. Yes, they'll bring it to the table and they'll tell you how they're working on it, but truly, for us to get reparations, white America would have to see the value in Black people to actually give us reparation, like how they gave reparations to the Jewish people after the Holocaust, how they gave reparations to the Indian, the Native American people. But for Black people, in their minds, it's like, what am I giving you reparations for? Even if I give you reparations, what you gonna do? You gonna buy you some exotic, you gonna buy some cars, shoes, yada yada yada. Honestly, me myself, I would take reparation in the form of like, hey, just forgive my student loan. I'm Gucci. Like, I'm
No,
good.
nah. See, that's just it. That's where we're going. What they want us to do is buy into their fucking conversation. And I'm sorry, I keep using the F word. I apologize. They want us to buy.
Fuck it.
But you know, I don't usually use that particular word. But they want us to buy into their language and their lingo. So as long as we let them control the narrative and our little weak ass congressional Black caucus control the narrative, then it's gonna keep coming down to a cash out. That's not those of us who are in that space who are talking about reparations on the regular and pushing for reparations. We're not talking about a check. We're not. It goes back to what Malcolm said. If you stab me in the back and you pull the knife out, you didn't heal anything, right? All you really did was you created the wound. Thank you for stop stabbing me. I appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah, whatever. But you never should have put the knife in, right? So now I have a wound and you have to help me heal the wound. And the wound takes longer to heal than to create, right? So reparations, in my view, is systematic. It's a systemic situation, right? That's where you get into the education situation. That's where you get into a dedicated SBA department. That's when you get into all these things that'll outlast even my children. So no, if they give us a check, it's screwed, right? Because what we don't have is infrastructure. We don't own shit. So you give me you can give me $1 million and you'll have it all back in the next 10 years.
He could have that. He could have that through executive orders, though. He could do systematic hirings of key positions. Like you talk about an SBA position, have an SBA that's dedicated to minority businesses, or even take the model that Andrew Jackson, Maynard Jackson gave for Atlanta, that you include systematically. You have. What are you gonna say with it? What do you think?
Well, it's just the word minority when we talk about reparations.
No, I'm just saying.
It's a specific group that suffered through American chattel slavery, right? And it's didn't stop at slavery, as we all know. It went through, the Reconstruction period. It went through convict leasing, and then went to Jim Crow, and it still runs. I'm with you, but these people, first of all, we have more, and I'm gonna use a word that y'all used earlier. We have more allyship than we ever had by raw number, right? That's the only way you can get 74 million versus 70 million in this dumbass election. But the electoral college has to be part of that process. I'm sorry?
If all of us voted, there's only 20 million of us in the United States.
And see, that's the other thing, right? I 100% agree. We are now the third largest ethnic group. So we can't keep playing old politics, right? We don't have the numbers, and we didn't have the numbers then, right? So whatever we achieve on a national level is going to take partnerships and partnerships, right? So yes, I want reparations as my end thing. Those of you who saw my little video, reparations is at my end of my line. But there was a lot of stuff before that, right? There was a lot of different steps before that. So I don't believe that reparations is off the table, because it finally at least is in the damn room, right?
We are not getting reparations. I'm telling you, mark my words.
And you and I may never agree there, and I'm not trying to convert you. But for those of you who are hearing me that hear where I'm going with this, is if other groups were able to get forms of reparations, I refuse to then say my group won't, right? But I will say, based on what we're doing, we're not going to get there. So we have to do something different. And that's where I'm kind of coming at.
Well, like you said, we have 3 years to make a change, right? So we got 3 years. We don't have time for the discussion to happen where we talk about bringing everybody to a consensus about what we should get rid of reparations or not. Because even if we got to a consensus, said yes, there needs to be something done, it's going to take another 18 to 20, 50 years for them to decide what that is going to be.
I ain't got 50 years. I'll be dead by then. I'll be like,
But that's just it. But
Exactly.
see, reparations ain't about me. You know what I'm
oh
saying?
yeah, I mean, I feel you, but I want like a little casino or something like that.
Too.
You know what I'm saying? I could make it like the pink, you know. I want a casino.
Want to sell some please to sound a little.
You know, I'm with you. I want it too. But what I'm hearkening to is that spirit that brought us through slavery and through to this day. And that spirit was that I may not see it, but damn it if I won't die trying to get it for somebody to come behind me.
We got. I think we should because we kicked that can down the road too many times. We need this time.
Gonna have to keep kicking it. You know what? The reason why we keep kicking that can down the road is because we're looking for their asses to show up and say, "Here's a can for you to kick."
So
you know what I'm saying?
That's what I said. There's a lot now that we're at the table. Now we know we have swayed the vote to our side because it was the Philadelphia's, it was the Atlanta's, it was the Detroit.
We're not at the table, dog.
Huh?
We're not at the table. We're not.
No, but it was us that brought this victory about.
But who are they giving the credit to?
I believe we're closer to the table than we've ever been before.
They finally let us in the room.
Closer.
They let us in the room, right? We still want a chair, but
yeah,
right
but
now.
But before we were outside, we're looking in the window. Now
it took us 400 years.
It
took us 400 years to get in the door. What I'm saying
but we got in there though. We got in. That's the whole key to it. Like we got in there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, and I know it sounds like I'm doing double talk, but it's like
we just got the vote.
No, we don't. No, that's not it. That is. I mean, we got to vote. But Stacey Abrams.
Yeah, shout out to Stacey Abrams, by the way. She did that.
Right. Stacey Abrams did something that is purely right out the playbook of our own history. That is the 60s come back. She is a great, right? And they they'll say her name now and they'll finally give her something, I guess. They'll give her something. But when Georgia now is down to these 2 seats, before there was down to these 2 seats, who did they send to Georgia? They sent Kamala Harris, they sent President Obama, and I think they sent Biden a few times, right? The 3 people most tied, right? They use Obama anytime they want to try to, like Obama's the new MLK, right? So they'll just use him to make us emotional and shit. And they brought Biden and Harris because they knew this is a black city. So if you can't get the state, you damn well better get Atlanta. So they came through for that. But now that it's down to these 2 damn seats, which is still in Atlanta, they are sending fucking Andrew Yang and the other person who didn't have shit to do with us. So they're coming to try to swing moderate Republicans. That's what they're coming for. But who is it you really need to show up on January 5th? You need those same young people to come back.
Yeah.
You need those minorities to come back. You need the Asian community to come back. That is what delivered Georgia what it does have. But if you're going to come back in here and you're going to ignore the black men, in fact, you're going to blame the black men for a few more black men voting for Trump, which I also disagree with. I don't even think that's a real accurate description. If you saw my other post, you already know. But
I believe it.
But no, I'm not going to. But anyway, so I don't get off track. They blaming the black men, but statistically, we are literally 1% of the voting population. So what, right? And then, but you're ignoring all these black young men and women. It was the black community that showed up in Georgia. And it was the Latin community that showed up in Georgia. The Asian community showed up, and usually they vote Republican. So they showed up.
I think with the Asian thing though, him keep calling it the Chinese virus. He kept offending the Asian community. Yeah, and I think that had a lot to do with the fact, because Asian people are always going to try to uphold their honor. You're not just going to talk shit about their country, and they don't take kindly to disrespect. So I think
$2.4 trillion.
But what will make them come out in a midterm? I mean, in a special election? That's my point.
Well,
When you show
but
up
this is
and
the
you
thing
just want to
though.
talk to Republicans and like you're going to get more Republicans to cross over, they've been chasing Republicans for 20 years. This shit don't work. But what does work is getting black men, black women, Latino men, Latino women, getting your natural base to believe that there is something they can do.
Well, you bring up some very valid points, but I think now that we have that momentum, I think there's a lot more grassroots organizations that's out there doing the groundwork. Because if it wasn't for Stacey Abrams, as well as
The Black Men
local
Voter Project.
grassroots, organizations that was canvassing and they were doing all the grunt works and getting people registered. So I think now that they kind of realize like it's not about shoving out millions and millions of dollars and commercials and all this other stuff. Like you have to lay the groundwork first. So I think that if we continue to ride that momentum, if we continue to do the groundwork, and the groundwork can be done by just regular people. Like you could canvass your own neighborhood and find out how many people are registered to vote in your own community, whether blacks, whites, Hispanics, and then also give them the information, teach them or show them how to go and get registered to vote, and then get them hyped to actually go out there and vote. If we all do our part and keep that momentum going, I definitely believe that we can, fill those 2 Senate seats with Democrats.
Yes. Let me tell we coming up on 2 hours here. Now let me just say this like before
we have 2 hours already.
We
So let's say for Warnock and Ossoff that we know are running seats. I think that we got to talk about what they need to do from our perspective to win this election. Because for me, when I first came into it, I thought Ossoff didn't give us who he was, right? The Republicans are telling us who Ossoff is. Ossoff is
traditional Democrat,
right? I don't have any identity for him. I don't have any where his positions are or anything like that. He seems to be very nebulous. He goes with what's popular at the time, and not saying, hey, this is what I am, this is what I believe in. So this is what I want to do when I go to Washington. So we need clearer definition for Ossoff. Now for Warnock, it's the exact opposite. Now I'm starting to see that we talked about the ugly ads starting to come out of him. He supposedly had a situation with his child, and then he ran over his ex-wife's foot.
That was before that part. Okay, that was in the AJC prior to prior to before he even like secured the nomination when he was running. But that part as well, the part that they left out was that he was going through a divorce, and that that when the police did investigate it, that his ex-wife didn't have any mark. She was angry about something, and so of course sometimes women tend to get emotional and get back at folks or whatever, and that's all they have. Like Reverend Warnock's,
that's all they had. Exactly. So the thing about it is that we still, for him, I still don't think he needs to be because he
sounds distorted.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I still don't think he needs to be just like soft. Like he can't be soft with Republicans. He's got to go. He's in a fight, so he can't just be. He's got to point out her background of not election fraud, but
they started doing that because I just saw an ad on Lochner where they were talking about the fact that when at first before Corona was running rampant, as soon as she got the information, she started dumping her stock. So now they're
she's a legit crook.
I think for Reverend Warnock, it's a tough position because you have to understand, his profession, he's a reverend. So he is a senior pastor of Ebenezer Baptist Church, as you guys know. So it's like at the end of the day, he still has to go back to what he knows, which is preaching. But you still have to fight. But also, you can't go too hard where your congregation, starts feeling like, okay, they're getting offended. But at the same time, you have to be tough enough for your opponent to know that, you ain't no punk. So it's kind of like a fine line, I think.
I look at it like this. I'll start with Warnock. I think that Warnock, to finish out this race, he needs to do exactly what he's been doing. He doesn't need to change anything about his approach. The people who are working with him need to make sure they're really pushing to keep the energy high. But he himself, he just needs to stay that particular course. I'm not looking for him to be an activist in Congress. I don't see that as far as being like his role, his way. So right now, we just need Ossoff and Warnock to win because we need the numbers.
I don't necessarily agree with that part, is only because actually, Rev's been an activist from the pulpit.
That's not what I'm saying.
We lost your visual again, Twan.
Yeah, that's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying that he is not. I'm not saying he's not an activist. I'm saying what I expect from him, right? So what I expect from him is to help fill the numbers and get us Black representation into the Senate. Ossoff, same thing. And I like Warnock. I don't like Ossoff that much, but I still support him because his candidacy means a lot to our community in our state. So like you mentioned, Antoine, you don't really know his positions and stuff, but he's done a couple interviews recently where he's been very clear, where he's not even doing like the Biden thing, where he kind of like dances on the line to try to make sure nobody gets offended. He's just straight up saying, no, I'm not with defund the police. No, I'm not with universal health care. No, you know what I'm saying? So like all the progressive positions, he just straight up is like, nah, I'm not. He is a true corporate Democrat. That's why you can't figure out what he is, because that's what he is. You know what I'm saying?
The Democrats don't have a position anyway, corporately anyway. So
they don't.
Because they took Bernie's platform, they molded it into their own, and they kind of all ran off that, little just hodgepodge of that. So him saying that he doesn't believe this, we don't know what he believes in that.
We don't. But what I'm saying is he's made clear what he doesn't believe in. So for me, we need the Senate, because without the Senate, Biden is going to deal with the same thing Obama had to deal with. So I don't care if they went in there and they both said, you know what, I just want to get along with all the Republicans because we're all human and that's all that matters. I don't care if they said that. I'm still voting for them because I need the numbers in that chamber. We can continue to work on building a Black, and I'm just using this as a term, but building a Black Tea Party or building a working class Tea Party that goes in and says, you know what? Here are the things that we want. Are you going to represent these? No. All right, I'm a primary you. Okay, and just working our way through the states like the Republicans have done, so that we start getting better finish line candidates. But in the meantime, it's, we got to weaken McConnell, and that's just the kind of like the view I kind of take with it. We just got to weaken McConnell.
Yeah, that pretty much answered the last question we was going to talk about, which is what kind of agenda what we like to see. We went a lot into that. Let's go to let's go to the second one. When we was talking about earlier, what does nonviolence mean to you? What's your definition of it? How do you view it? How would you like to see it?
Quick answer, goddammit.
Quick answer, yeah, I agree.
Yeah, because I gotta go eat. I haven't eaten today. No. This is
you want to go
out for my birthday.
Huh?
Oh. All right, well, go ahead. What's your go ahead, Thiesh. We'll start with you on that one.
All right, so I'll try to make mine as quick as I can because I'm long-winded and this is a very important topic to me. But first, I'll define violence. Violence is when someone commits a force of action or political pain or suffering on someone else, right? To me, that's violent. My response to it cannot be called violence, not in my view. Like if you hit me, you were violent. When I hit you back, I'm not being violent. I'm actually defending myself, and I'm now speaking to you in the language that you understand. So for me, nonviolence is a tactic that we must keep because of us being behind enemy lines in a minority position, but it's a tactic and not a way, right? So if someone does attack you, then you then need to come up with the most intelligent approach to how you respond. It doesn't always mean in the moment you pull out a gun and shoot back. It doesn't always mean in the moment you throw your fist, but you respond, right? And so to me, nonviolence is a tactic, but not a way of being.
Twan?
Yeah, that's a good answer to it. But for me, nonviolence is it's more of a collaborative effort to come to a solution without coming to fisticuffs, without having to inflict harm on another party. Now, with that being said, there's some diplomacy that has to take part in nonviolence, but I do not participate in turn the other cheek shit. I don't do that. You know what I'm saying? If you hit me,
That time is done.
I'm gonna hit you back in your goddamn face. I'm not no more turning the cheek. You know what I'm saying? This ain't my mother, this ain't my grandmother's generation. You know what I'm saying? If you hit me in my face, best believe I'm gonna put these fucking ambles on you, okay?
Your sound is really distorted, Twan.
Yeah, you sound so bad.
Don't get these animal hands I'm gonna put on your ass. Okay? You don't get these paws. But I'm gonna come. If you still approach me in a non-violent way, then I will respond to you in a very diplomatic and very. I'm gonna engage you in a conversation, but I will not. That's what non-violent is to me. So, but don't try me. Try Jesus. Don't try me.
You catch his hand.
Esther, what you got on that?
I mean, I agree with this and Antoine. This is, what they said about nonviolence. I believe that nonviolence has a place in time. But, I also believe that if somebody put their hands on you, then, put them in the ground, because you have to respect people. You have to respect boundaries. And there is a time where we should always strive towards a nonviolence approach. However, if the opportunity presents itself, and you tried and that person steps out of line, then yeah, by all means, try Jesus and catch these hands, simply put.
Okay. Me personally, I don't feel like I've never felt like you're the violent one when someone has been violent to you first. So just like Thea said,
Exactly.
when it comes to that, you have to be on the defensive when you retaliate. And that's the only way you can really look at it, is you're on defense because you're defending yourself. You may end up getting the better of your opponent who was violent against you first, but you're on defense. Every human has their breaking point. People can push that button, you know what I'm saying? And then that may cause you to be the aggressor first, but still in all, you got somebody just like picking at you and putting a hand in your face and picking at you. You only going to take so much shit from anybody before you feel like your life or your well-being is in danger. So it like you said, motherfucker might have to catch them hands. So
I just feel like you should do one plus one, like in almost everything. Like if you greet me with a handshake, I'll greet you with a hug, right? But if you slap me with your hand, I'm gonna beat you with my fist. You know what I'm saying? It's like and then I'm gonna shut up. But yeah, it's just, I just think that it has to be something that you take an intelligent approach.
Walk softly and carry a big stick.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, my youngest son can tell you, Patrick was having trouble with a kid at school when he was in elementary school, and he kept coming home every day, Daddy, this kid's messing with me. The kid's messing with me. He's messing with me. So one day I get a call from school. The first thing, I believe it was the assistant principal that called me. The first thing they said was, first of all, your son is not in trouble. He was defending himself, but he did pick this kid up and slam him and stomp him. So, I mean,
but you don't bully another kid. But like, I'm proud of you, sir. Good job.
Right. I'm like, okay, all right, I'll be there in the morning. See y'all later, And I mean, even my oldest son, Dejan, he's a very mild, calm person. He's laid back like me. But you piss him off, you're gonna see the animal come out in him. You know what I'm saying? But like I said, that's anybody. So you can't be the violent one when somebody is violent to you first. it comes to a point where you have to defend yourself. If you don't defend yourself at some point, people are gonna walk all over you. And nobody wants to be mad.
Because you remember when Jason Race tried to come at me every year in the hall?
I remember
Jason
that.
was like he was like 6'7" in the 8th grade. I had to whoop that ass every year, bro. Every year.
Right.
And then finally I said, you know what? I'm for the end your life today. And then everybody pulled me off his ass. I was like, I was it.
But Twan, I mean, you know, with us living in Washington State at the time, it wasn't very many of us until more and more from the military started coming in. Right. So I mean, you remember me in the 7th grade, I'm coming home from a fight almost every day because I went to a different school than you did. Mm-hmm. So I'm coming home every day off of a different fight, just about with students and verbally and mentally with teachers.
So you came to your grandparents' house and then we took that shit out.
Exactly.
Yeah, it was over then.
Exactly. Right.
Hey, but gentlemen, we need to go ahead. And one lady.
All right, let's wrap it up.
Let's wrap it up.
Hey, this was a fantastic damn show, y'all. Hey, Esther, I want to thank you for being up.
Thank you guys for inviting me. I didn't even know we went like 2 hours. It did not feel like 2 hours.
Right. But see, that's how we do all the damn time. We don't realize, hey, we're gonna do this for about an hour, y'all, and it's like a SpongeBob cartoon. 4 hours later.
Yeah, right. That's why we need one of y'all, whoever wants to become the editor of the family. I'll give you the login. This is, yeah.
I can't.
All right.
Maria might be. Okay.
All right. Hey, again, another great show, Social Reality. Cortez, we got Esther here today, my man Theus, Antoine Tucker. All right. Come back, join us next time, and we're going to get in this shit again. That's how we do. We don't care about no goddamn time. There we do. All right.